Music and technology. Ever since the introduction of the electric guitar, the music world has been rocked, literally, by continued technological innovations. Scott Page, saxophonist for Pink Floyd, Supertramp, and a number of other legends of rock, has been on the front lines of tech for several decades. And today we visit with Scott to discuss his latest mind-blowing project. Our roaming gnome, Stewart Rogers, recently attended the OurCrowd Global Investing Summit. And while there, he spoke with Amit Hammer, the CEO of Neura. It's an AI engine that delivers real-world customer awareness, which anticipates users' needs and preference throughout the day. Stewart also met with Jon Medved, the founder and CEO of OurCrowd, and they discussed how funding really needs to change. Sexy stuff, huh? Oh, it is. And we've got a stacked show for you this week. So let's get this party started, Lolita.
Ready for your hot fix of tech news with the latest apps, sexy software, and groovy gadgets? You got it with the bad boys of tech. Take it away, gentlemen.
Welcome to the Bad Boys of Tech, the show for geeks, nerds, dweebs, dorks, and everybody who digs technology. And we are going full on with some super cool tech today, Mr. Travis Wright, because we have three interviews, and it's going to be epic.
Yeah, so a lot of times we'll do a show, we got some meat and potatoes. This show is just full of meat. You got no vegetables.
Yeah, no starch. No starch in this show. You're going to have to find another way to get the wrinkles out of your shirt. This one's going to be all protein.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we had an amazing conversation with Scott Page. We're going to get to that here shortly. And then we have two great interviews with Stewart Rogers, chatting with people doing epic stuff. So I think, what should we do, Mr. Joe Com? Which one do you want to get into first?
Let's talk to Scott Page because the dude rocks. The man with the golden saxophone. He has worked with so many legends of the rock sphere. I mean, we're talking playing sax and guitar with Pink Floyd, with Supertramp, with Toto, he's got so many friends that have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But what you might not know is the dude's also a tech aficionado, been on the pioneering edge of digital multimedia for more than 2 decades, and is working on a project right now that is absolutely mind-blowing. Welcome, Mr. Scott Page, to the Bad Boys of Tech.
Wow, thank you very much, guys. It's always, and listen, I love hanging with you guys. We had such a great time in San Diego last week. It was a blast. So thank you very much for having me on the show. Yeah,
what people might not know is that he's played with Pink Floyd and Supertramp and all this. And he was my saxophonist during my karaoke extravaganza. So that was right. That was a good moment.
And you knocked it out of the park, buddy. You were killing it.
Thank you.
That was really fun. I mean, that's the first time I'd ever done that with a live band, karaoke with a live band. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome. I got to tell you this. What? So my dad was in the hospital. Mom and dad went to the hospital with double pneumonia, same day. They were just flu, double pneumonia. My dad had 2 liters of liquid around his lungs that they took away. And I literally showed him the video of you playing with me singing the song, and it just like brightened his whole mood changed. He was just so happy and just proud. I think it helped him through a moment of illness. So thank you for that.
Oh, nice.
That was awesome.
Good one. Awesome.
Scott, just because name dropping is so fun and because we love classic rock, name a few more of the bands that you've had the opportunity to play with.
Oh, gosh, I played in Mick Fleetwood's band, The Zoo, so I played with him for a while. I played with Seals and Crofts. I don't know if you remember that band. Played
Summer
with Chuck
Breeze,
Berry.
baby.
Played with Chuck Berry, James Brown, which was an incredible moment being, kind of such a fan of his. I played everybody. I've just, through the years, I've just played with tons and tons of folks. I've been very blessed to have had an incredible music career and, been able to hang with a lot of people and watch them drunk and stoned falling on the floor in the middle of the night. All your favorite celebrities.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you probably got a book in you somehow, I bet, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's actually, it's funny. Actually, I had a guy that's a big Pink Floyd fan. So he called me up to do kind of a blog post for this big Pink Floyd site called Brain Damage. We started down that rabbit hole, and now he's like, for the last year and a half, he's been interviewing me and built an entire thing, put my whole life down on paper now. So it's actually pretty interesting to go back and look at it all. It's been quite an interesting ride for sure.
What are you going to call the book? Scott Page Blows.
Pages and pages to read by. No, I don't know.
That's horrible, Travis.
Horrible.
A lot of people don't know about Mr. Scott Page is that he's actually been a tech enthusiast for a very long time. In fact, for those of you that are seeing this on video, he was part of a group called Seventh Level that produced one of the first cartoon multimedia CD-ROM. It was called Toonland. It featured Howie Mandel. We're talking 1994, and this is actually a piece of software that I reviewed all those years ago, Scott. So it turns out our lives have intersected.
That's funny. I mean, because that's actually, people say you played with Floyd, you've done all these things. And actually my favorite claim to fame is I got to co-produce and directed and built that first interactive cartoon. And those were tricky days. I mean, that's what really got me into this whole tech space. I remember we were running those things on 386, 25 megahertz Windows machines with 4 mega RAM. Can you imagine that? Oh, wow. And Windows would eat up 2.5 meg of RAM. So we had 1.5 meg to figure out how to create multimedia. And at those times, everything was DOS, remember? And Windows just came out and nobody was doing any multimedia on Windows. And so we did actually this first thing where we wrote an engine that was called Top Gun that sat on top of kind of Windows. We were able to do all this animation. And it was great because that title did really well. We had over 11 million units sold on that, believe it or not. And Bill Gates used to hold that up at all his conferences and show a clip from it and say, see, Windows is a great multimedia operating system. So those were really, really fun times. No question. Really pioneering days.
How long did it take for that stuff to render? Because you have a meg and a half of space to render animation. That to me, would it take like a month?
No, it was actually, what was interesting is we got real lucky. My business partner in that company, Seventh Level, that we started together, had started a company called Micrographics. And Micrographics was at that time the 20th largest software company in the United States. And his team was hired by IBM to build a program called Mirrors, which would run on the OS2 operating system. So do you remember OS2, which was the IBM's version? So our entire engineering team that came over from Micrographics when we started Seventh Level had built and knew all the source code to Windows in those days. So we were able to kind of figure out how to hook in and create a new way of kind of presenting animation. The trick was we built these reusable animation libraries where we had the arms and everything separated. We had 6 mouth positions. So we're reusing a lot of animation because we didn't have a lot of space, but we were controlling it through the engine that we built. So we were actually, that was the beautiful part, is that we were the first time anybody was able to really kind of show real animated kind of cartoon on such a low end machine. Now, today, I mean, with horsepower that we have, it's a totally different game, right? So yeah, those were really fun times.
Yeah, now I have to ask before we get into the meat of what you're doing now, that statue behind you, for those of you listening to the podcast, you can't see this and you'll need to go to the website to watch this also at badboysoftech.com so you can see, but there is this massive purple winged creature behind you. What is this?
So I can't remember, probably maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was a project called the Community of Angels in Los Angeles, where these angels were painted by artists and they were put all over the city. You've seen ones like this. They did one, I think, in Nashville where they had guitars painted and they were put all over the city. Well, this was the one called Community of Angels, and I sponsored this. And it was painted by a girl by the name of Janice Grace, and we painted it up at Universal City Walk for over about a 3 to 4 week period of time. She painted it. One of the interesting things, so what I'm doing with this, it's called the Angel of Now. It's all about presence. I'm a big, kind of take a pretty heavy spiritual path and the idea of a present moment. So I built this angel. But what's interesting is on the back, you can't see all these little kind of spaces where there's wings. And I have these little hearts that I'm having famous people paint. So I have everybody painting these. I've got like Charlize Theron and I just got a ton of celebrities. And so the idea is I'm going to put about 60 of these painted, signed paintings on the back of these on the Angel. And I'm going to auction it off for charity, one of these. It's like 8 feet tall. It's pretty big. It's much bigger than I am. It goes way over my head.
We had a great conversation at the social media marketing world. You actually sat in our blockchain workshop.
Oh,
which
yeah.
was awesome. It was awesome to see you there. So what were some of the takeaways that you enjoyed from the blockchain workshop that we put on?
Well, I'm a real blockchain fanatic. I'm a fan of that. We're actually looking at building the blockchain into our platform now. So I've been following it for quite a while. I mean, I think one of the biggest things about the blockchain that I think most people don't really understand, and I truly believe the idea of a distributed ledger, whether it's the exact blockchain code today, we don't know. I mean, there's debates about that. But the idea that a distributed ledger, what that actually does is I believe that's kind of probably as big of an invention as the Industrial Revolution. It has so many implications that most people don't understand. It took me a while to grasp it, but I remember that day when it finally connected in my head and I went, holy crap, this is really a big deal. And it's great to see you guys holding that up. Everybody kind of points it to just the crypto side of things, but what it has to do as far as, kind of revolutionizing and it solves that one big problem, which is trust, right? And basically gets rid of the middleman. So, it really disrupts the entire food chain. Not to mention, if you think of the blockchain, it's really the robot network, right? It's really controlled by machines pretty much. And it's the new world. Like I said, I'm a big, major fan of that. And I can see the opportunities that is for artists and for businesses and things to take advantage of the blockchain. No question. And it's good to see you guys staying on top of it and keeping us abreast.
That's what we do. Well, you are now leading a new project, which just sounds like complete badassery. And again, for those watching, I'm going to bring this website up so that you can see it. You're the CEO of Think EXP. What is this?
Think EXP is an immersive entertainment company. I've been I've been obviously in the entertainment business tech space now for quite a few years and kind of watching it evolve. We're now come to a place where you can't, for artists, how do you make money? You can't sell music anymore, right? The only money's coming off of streaming. We know that in order to make $5,000 off your record through streaming, you got to have 1 million streams. And we now know that basically, there's less than like 2% of the entire Spotify catalog that's had 1 million streams. So there's really no money in the music. So what can you sell today? And it comes down to two things. You can sell the relationship or you can sell the experience. So what we're doing is kind of really kind of defining what's the next level of where the dollars are for artists. And we believe it has to do with the experience. And so Think EXP, our first Think experience is a Think Floyd experience. And what we're doing is we're doing a Pink Floyd show with an all-star band in a 360-degree immersive dome. And it's the wildest concert experience you'll ever see. I don't know if you can kind of get a feel. You can see here's the domes if you're looking at that on the side there. It's just like you're completely immersed 360 degrees. When you look up, it's like a shared VR experience. So what this is all about is I'm bringing back a project that I did 26 years ago called the Grand Scientific Musical Theater. And the idea of the Grand Scientific Musical Theater is bringing the highest technology, the latest innovations in entertainment and immersive experience and marrying it with Hollywood. And so we're now building Think Experience out. We've done 13 so far shows here in this dome. They've all sold out. And what's crazy about it is the data, because this is kind of my MVP. We've just started doing this to see how it would work. We're finding out that the average ticket prices are turning out to be around $88, which is incredible. And then second of all, we're finding out that the repeat business is like crazy. So we're now taking the company and growing the company. And we're in the midst of designing 253-foot trucks right now that house an entire digital experience, plus along with traveling domes. And we're doing sort of a Cirque du Soleil meets TED Talks meets Burning Man kind of a business strategy. So, it's very exciting, and it's crazy to see how many people are coming back to this thing, but it's definitely the wildest concert experience there is.
Yeah, so, that sounds completely amazing. Like you're sitting there at this concert, and you got a screen all the way around you in all directions except on the floor. So I guess there's not a digital floor, right?
Not yet, but there are some coming. It's actually, there's so many things when you talk about all the new technology of projection mapping and the things that you're able to do now and creating those immersive experiences. We're now in the midst of designing some AR built into it. So the minute the experience starts with the ticket, you bring it up, you take your AR, you take your phone, you look at your ticket, starts taking you through an entire experience. And so the idea is to kind of build those up right now. And then if you really look at my business, it's really a combination of, we're building a platform that has not only the live stack, the technology stack, but we also have, from one of my other companies, have been bringing in our whole mobile media and messaging network that ties to it. So it's really the entire platform of the offline and the online coming together with a live experience. And the goal is to kind of have that in place so that we can run other artists and other experiences. So Think Floyd for the first one. We're looking at Think Hendrix. We're looking at Think Bowie. We're looking at a variety of different Think experiences that we can run through our
what's so interesting about this is that I was thinking of this. I was in Ibiza in Spain. I did a blockchain cruise, and one of the places that we went was some people call it Ibiza. It looks like Ibiza, but they call it Ibiza. And so I was in Ibiza, and that's where all those badass DJs are, right? And so here's all these DJs that are playing each DJ comes on playing for about 2 hours. The whole concert thing is 7 hours long. And I was amazed because I had not been in one of those clubs. And now it's music from a DJ. It seems like they're the new rock stars because it's a total immersive experience. They're playing their music. They have lights going all around. They have all these multimedia screens all around you, and that they have loops and they do little cool things. And so it's a completely new experience when it comes to music. It made me want to go to these dance clubs more often. And they were charging 50 euros to go into this thing. And they played, there's a few DJs, and there's one great DJ that doesn't come on until 5 a.m, right? But I was this is the future of music. And I was talking to my son and my daughter, and my son's going to this school called Summit Tech. It's in Missouri, and it teaches them green screen stuff. It teaches them, Adobe, not only Photoshop, but it teaches them After Effects and Premiere, and then they learn Audition. There's a whole recording studio in there for them to do audio. And I'm like, dude, if you play your cards right, you're stacking all the skills to be a DJ in the modern day age with all the visualizations and the audio and stuff. It's a totally new world for musicians.
Well, yeah, if you think about it too, the three big drivers that have happened that have just basically changing everything, and they've been running parallel for a while. That's storage, bandwidth, and horsepower. They've now hit that power band, right? So now the cost of doing this stuff is dropped dramatically and putting in the hands of basically anybody that wants to go out there and do it. And if you look at the new business models, it goes back to kind of what Kevin Kelly was talking about a while ago, called the 1,000 true fans, which you probably remember, right? The idea, if you a true fan is somebody that'll spend $100 a year on you. So if I'm a band or an artist and I have 1,000 true fans, there's my first $100,000 in revenue. So the game is, how do I find those first 1,000 fans and then scale? Well, the idea is if I can start bringing these experiences and bring stuff together for these fans that make it unique, I can start building a real business around all of this. So this is, I believe, is the greatest time in history for the independent artist, when all you hear is, oh man, the music business sucks. It's horrible. It's not good for the artist. It's not easy having this much fun. You've got to think like an entrepreneur. You have to be you got to think like a startup, right? That's why I teach a course that's basically called SPACE, which is Story, Plan, Army, Conversion, and Education. And I teach this to artists because, is this a business or a hobby? If it's a business, I got to be able to convert these people. Now, SPACE from Story, the story we know is critical because that also gives you the information you need to go find your super fan. right? Because the money's in the super fan. Once I know your story, and I always tell artists, your story isn't, hey, I'm a guitar player from Cincinnati and I grew up in a poor family. Nobody cares about that story. It's like, what do you stand for? What's your purpose, right? What matters to you? And then you to go into the P is the plan. And I always recommend lean startup principles on how to go build your business using those lean startup, the lean cabinets, one page business plan. And then the A is your army, because that's where it is. Who are those super fans who will gather around you? And the C is the big one, which is conversion. How do I convert those fans into paying customers, right? And then the E is the education, because all artists out there, if you're not paying attention and learning and getting educated every day, it changes on a weekly basis. As we saw just this last year, what's gone on in social media. The algorithms changed, the business changed, the models changed. And that was one of the things we learned a big part about, like in social media world this last time, man. Organic traffic, all the things we used to do, it ain't the same anymore, right? It's a whole different model. It's all about the relationship and this conversation kind of economy that we're going into.
You're a badass on so many levels. You're an entrepreneurial badass. You're a technologist badass. You're, of course, a musician badass. And you're a marketing badass. Like, all of these components come together to make for successful projects. And I'll tell you, if you're out in Los Angeles, you got to go check this thing out. First opportunity I have to be out there, I want to go check out ThinkXP. When are you doing shows?
We're doing 2 this weekend again, April 5th and 6th. And then we're also doing, I think, the 26th and 27th, the Friday, Saturday at the end of the month. And then we're doing it like 3 weeks later, March, May, April, May 15th, 16th, 14th, 15th. I don't have the calendar exactly, but roughly every 3 weeks. And we're doing it at a place called Wisdom in LA, downtown LA. I guarantee it. It's like no concert you've ever seen. I've had people come to all 13 shows. They just can't get enough of it because it's just the craziest experience. They even have these beds that you plug the music into, and you actually sit there as you're staring up, and the band is rocking and stuff, and the music is like taking you through this whole trip.
So Trevor Simones, he wants to know, have you considered VR for Think EXP? Is this going to be
absolutely.
something that you're going to, is this going to be an immersive thing that people can, maybe they can't go to the dome, but they can sure lay down in their bed?
No, absolutely. I mean, this is, again, the whole idea is bringing the greatest minds, the greatest technologies together. We're working in all the forms of XR, in AR, VR. There's quite a few things I can't actually talk about right now, some exciting partnerships and things that are coming on in that space. But yes, it is about using all this immersive stuff. My business partner, we have a 53-foot 360 VR and 4K state-of-the-art video truck that we park next to the dome. So we'll be able to stream live 3D and VR actually out of it. And we've done some experimentation in that way. It's really a trip. So this is that moment in time. And any artist out there, this is the moment to start really looking at some of these new technology, projection mapping, all these things, because you can do it so cheap now. It's crazy at the prices you can build this stuff for.
Well, VR is one approach, but AR also, right? Where you're putting other images into the experience that are layered. So it gives it this 3D effect, but they're also able to see the band.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we're actually even working on things right now. We're designing a whole exhibit dome that goes along with the actual dome, so that when you come to this thing, you whip out your phone, to look at the ticket comes alive, you go through this exhibition dome, you see all these crazy different kinds of exhibits. I'm actually putting together a whole exhibit of a bunch of Pink Floyd memorabilia that everybody's seen, but putting them into scenes built around AR so that now you can actually go through the whole experience and learn the story, and then before you go into the dome to actually see the show. So the idea is really just creating a experience from the second you buy the ticket through the entire thing. And then after you leave the ticket, we move them onto our platform. So we have our online, our continuous conversation going on with them and through our subscription product business that goes along with it.
So you have an actual ticket.
Got an actual ticket.
Man, you don't see those very often. Normally there's all digital now, so you gotta go whoop, right? Nydia Fulcher has a question. Her son is 12, and he is interested in saxophone. Any advice for him getting the right one to become a rock star?
Yeah. Well, it's really great today. When I was growing up, I mean, the instruments were so bad for beginners, right? Because they were just not made very well. But because, again, technology and the things that you can do, even these cheaper student model horns are all built off of computer generated copies of incredible instruments. So, I mean, you can look into, the Yamaha saxophones, Selmers. There's a lot of great saxophones. I suggest, go looking on Craigslist or some of those places and finding an instrument. But yes, the more important part is getting a mouthpiece. And I will suggest something to you. There's a company called Sios. And Sios, they hit me up online. They actually make a 3D printed mouthpiece, which, they come in. This is actually one of them here. You can see it's pink. It's not, I can't believe I'm playing a pink mouthpiece. And when I first saw these things, I thought it was a toy. I thought, oh, no way. But there's so much science in these things. They can fine tune and exactly make the mouthpiece. They're very easy to play, very reasonable, and they sound great. So the key to playing the saxophone or any instrument is you want to get something that plays easy when you're trying to learn, which is hard for most beginners because they don't know what an easy horn is supposed to feel like. So I would recommend, if you're going to get something, make sure you find somebody that really knows how to play to make sure your instrument is easy, free-blowing to play. So that's my little advice.
That's great. I have a portable instrument actually, and it's not my voice. It's my cheeks.
Oh,
yeah. I can play my cheeks.
Good job.
I'm not nearly as talented as the great Scott Page, but they are in tune.
Wow.
There's that. So
I see our next duet.
Yeah, maybe one day we can jam together. I'll play my cheeks and you can do sax. Yeah. Well, this is great stuff, Scott. Really appreciate you coming on. And last question is, are you going to take this Think EXP project and have it in other locations as well, or just LA?
Well, we're actually getting ready to go. We are taking it other places. Part of the mobile circus that we're building is going to be traveling. But we are right now in the midst of talking with folks in Vegas about a residency there. And then we're going to Europe. We open a festival in Hungary on July 30th. And we're going to be doing a series of days in Moscow. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But yeah, this immersive space is now starting to blow up. And we're very excited about this. First of all, it's a lot of fun. It's the first time when you're in the band, you're actually seeing what the audience sees. Because we're actually we're in the 360-degree space at the same time. So it's really a trip. Instead of we usually look out and you see the band, they don't get the vibe. But now we're seeing the immersive part of it. So it's a very interesting experience. But yes, we are taking it on the road. That's the plan.
Bring it to Denver.
Yes, indeed. For your next conference.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Right.
And I gotta call you on it because other people are gonna call you on it. It's only a 180 experience if you're not below the feet. Because you're not in a circle.
Ooh, I guess if you go 360 like this, about 360 like this.
I guess that works.
That's right.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bust you on that one there. I had to give you a hard time.
Don't let Travis throw you off your game, Scott. You're doing a great job.
Right.
We appreciate you, and thanks again for joining us today.
No, man, so
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Well, it's amazing to be here in Jerusalem. We are at the OurCrowd Summit, and for those of you who don't know, OurCrowd is a platform for funding. It's actually it's kind of like a mixture between like a VC firm and a crowdfunding platform. They've got an amazing brand. They've got this incredible event here. I think it's something like 15 to 18,000 people around this event, so it's pretty big. And I have the absolute pleasure of cornering Amit Hammer, as CEO of Neura. Amit, why don't you just tell everybody briefly what Neura is and what it does?
Thank you, Stewart. So it's great to be here. Neura is a company dealing with consumer engagement, and we have developed an AI platform, a unique platform that enables brands to understand how their users really live their life and what are their preferences and needs. And by knowing that, they're able to deliver experiences which are very much contextualized and personalized, and it yields with much greater engagement engagement and retention and conversion from the users. And our focus is on the real life behavior of people.
Right. I mean, I've been around marketing technology for a long time, and to be honest, I've heard that pitch probably about 700 times. Like, there is a lot of AI in customer engagement, personalization, targeting, marketing. Is it really the case that like AI at the moment is mostly being used to help sell products and services, and really all of the other interesting AI opportunities that we've all been sort of dreaming about for years are being sidelined because everyone's focused on what they can make money out of right now, which is to help people sell products and services?
So I believe that AI is not something that we sell. That's not the product. I believe the AI, and that matter also machine learning and other terms, this is a technology that we use in order to create that, in order to enable the brands or clients to create that personalized experience. And if you experience a product, let's say a mobile application that understands you and serves you better, that's adaptive, and that's becoming practically an AI application.
Right. I mean, that's really interesting. So, like, from your perspective, what is the most important thing that companies like startups, anyone that's trying to sell a product or service right now, what's the most important thing they can do to serve their customers better and to increase engagement levels and to, make their business stickier in the mind of the customer? Because, like, research shows that even if you have an emotional attachment to a company, if another company has the same product at a better price, 80% of the time people move. Like, how can we stop that sort of bouncing around that has become really natural for customers right now?
So if you look at the market today, companies engage with their consumer in multiple channels. They use emails and text messages and in-app and push notifications. And if you look at the industry numbers today, it shows that less than 8% of all those channels are even being read, and there are less than 1% of these messages that are triggering anything closer to a conversion. And you ask users why, and they tell you that what they're getting just not relevant for them, and even things that could be relevant for them are not arriving at the right moment. And how would a huge corporate know what is relevant for each individual and what is the right moment for each individual? And I believe that's the key. And what we're doing here, we're enabling our clients, enabling brands to serve the right person at the right moment based on really what they need. And that's what drives that really, really high engagement ratio that we see and the high conversions.
I mean, it sounds to me like with what you're doing and with what I've experienced of other personalization solutions, regardless of whether they use any kind of artificial intelligence or not, or machine learning or not, is that if we can get to a stage where we're not advertising to people and just blasting messages at them, but what we're really doing is acting like an assistant, like the right thing in the right place at the right time on the right device, in the same way that Google Assistant helps you. Like, for example, it knows where I'm flying tomorrow, so it's already got my boarding pass ready on my Google Pixel 2. I haven't had to tell it anything. It's looking at my email and it sees the flight confirmation, it's sucked it all in, and it's just giving me something useful. When do we get to the point where advertising is more like that, so that we can advertise less and only when it's important? We might pay more for those customers because we're going to have to increase the cost of acquisition to make up for the lower volume. But when are we going to get to that point, and is that the point that we're aiming for in the first place?
So I totally agree with you. If you open your phone push notification list every morning, it's an overwhelming experience. You get notified and trying to be blasted by advertisement from anywhere, from all these companies. And I totally agree. What we're trying to do when our clients are very successful in doing is reducing these and transforming from the way marketing and engagement is being done today, which is mostly bucketing people by top-down segmentation, and following the web behavior, like you mentioned, those 700 companies, or following our web behavior and trying to understand that, oh, if I like something on Facebook, maybe I need something based on that. And what we're doing, we're transitioning the customer engagement into a world that looks at you as an individual. It's a one-by-one engagement, and then looks at who you really are in the real world and what are your needs, and engaging with you only based on what you actually need.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Amit, I wish we could talk about this forever, but unfortunately podcasts have a limited amount of time, so we'll have to call it a day for now, but this has been really a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stewart.
So it wouldn't be OurCrowd Summit, of course, without catching up with the man himself, Jon Medved of OurCrowd, the man behind OurCrowd, I hasten to say. Jon, first of all, how incredible is this, and how happy are you with this year's OurCrowd Summit?
Well, I'm very happy with the summit, but I'm even more happy to be considered a bad boy. Okay, that's what I've always, bad boys always got the hot chicks, and I want to be a bad boy. So thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, hell yeah. You're an honorary bad boy. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, look, you've got some freaking big news.
Yes.
I mean, we alluded to it when I wrote that last article about OurCrowd, and you said, by this date, you're going to have hit $1 billion, and by God, you've done it. I mean, tell us, everybody, about this $1 billion and what that's all about.
Look, we started 6 years ago with an idea that we could actually democratize access to the asset class and get, regular investors with some money into venture capital, but not just sort of second-rate deals, but good deals. And we've managed to double the assets under management more or less every year since inception. So you do the arithmetic, and we were supposed to get here, we got here. It's incredible, but now we have to, continue. It's like you climb a peak and then you see, holy crap, there's Everest, looming in the distance. You got to, suck up the air and keep on climbing. And, take a look at me. I'm a little on the heavy side, and this climb is tiring, but we're making it. And, I think we reached a plateau to a certain degree in terms of being able to sort of breathe and sort of enjoy the view. This summit is really international in a way that nothing we've ever done has been. There are literally 182 countries represented, which is 10 short of the total number in the world, and we're going to track those remaining 10 down and bring them next year so we can sort of put up a flag in every country of the world. There are big delegations here from Korea and Colombia and all over. So that's cool. We also have a new sort of institutional crowd who've now joined us. And these are big family offices and billionaires and multinational corporations and even, big funds and banks who are now part of the crowd. And I think that's really cool, because to democratize and to be just individuals, that's only half of the work. But to get them together with the institutions, and they're doing the same deals, the same, price per share. It's not like one's getting a better deal than the other. And then we're, managing the whole process. That's cool. So I think we've achieved that. But now we got to, take it up another notch. And the big notch is to be data-driven, to start using this platform with all of this input that we've got. 10,000 companies we've evaluated, 170 portfolio companies on the platform, and figure out a way, how to make smarter decisions, better investments, how to use the software which we're writing with our 30 programmers on the team to make better connections among the crowd on behalf of the portfolio companies. Because the real goal here is not just to get the money in a new way, but to build the companies in a new way, to let the companies benefit from all of this collective power. I mean, there are people here just today with, I would literally say, 100,000 valuable connections for our companies. How do I mine that? Right. And it can't be, you send out a bunch of staff people to talk to them. It's not going to work. It's software. But we haven't figured that out yet. We haven't figured out the sort of our customer behavior, because everyone's busy, but these guys want to help, right? In other words, when they see the companies and they see, especially this summit, we're focused on impact and companies that you can both make money on and do good at the same time. And literally people are myself included, were moved, okay, by some of these presentations. There was one moment there that was like, we had a quadriplegic who had always dreamed of getting married in a traditional Jewish wedding under the wedding canopy, the chuppah, upright, eye to eye with his wife rather than in a wheelchair. And so one of our companies is called Up and Ride, and it allows quadriplegics to get upright. And he used it in his wedding in a very popular video that went viral. So he came on stage. As he was wheeling up, he almost fell. Okay, it was wild. And he began to realize that this was real. He, thank God, did not. Okay, and it was, really cool, but it sort of indicated that this is not fake in any way, shape, or form. And then to hear him speak from his heart, turns out he's become an investor in the company. Okay, and it was hard to watch that and not realize that, yes, you can, with startups, take a bite out of these global challenges. And by doing that, you'll make money, you'll return, capital, but you'll get social impact. And I think that motivates people to get involved, to make an introduction to their local hospital, to talk to their nephew who runs an insurance company about reimbursement, to talk to their brother-in-law who's a reporter to cover it. And that kind of crowd involvement, I think, is what's going to give our companies a special edge.
And in fact, you've got a number of different funds, but you're adding more funds all the time, and you've just added a social impact fund, right?
That's correct.
Now, but you've got something a little bit unique about that fund. I know a lot of people who've got social impact funds, and frankly, it's just polishing a turd again, right? It's just, here's some more money, but we're going to just, make it sound different because we want the kudos PR that goes along with that. But you're not doing that. What are you doing?
So first of all, we're measuring the impact, okay? And I think that most people today would say, yeah, my company makes a positive impact. Who wouldn't? Okay, you want to feel good about yourself, want other people to feel good about what you're doing. But that's not enough anymore. Okay, there's standards of metrics and measurement where you actually have to prove what's the impact that you're making. And so in this fund, we're partnered with Social Finance Israel, which was set up together with Ronald Cohen, Sir Ronald Cohen, who is really the father of impact investing. And they're helping us develop a whole methodology and whole scoring system. So we'll be reporting to our LPs and to the public, not just about our company's financial results. We won't report to the public on the financials, but to our LPs, we'll be also reporting, and probably to the public, about social impact progress. How are they doing in terms of their stated goals? And that's cool. So we're very proud of that fund. We're also launching a medtech fund, and we've been active medtech investors on the platform. We hadn't had a captive, specialized pool of money for that. We're giving it to the team that's done a great job with our first 24 investments, and we're excited about that one too.
That's awesome, so much awesome. Listen, thanks again for having me at OurCrowd Summit. I had a huge amount of fun running the Eat the Sharks session, which is where we turned the tables and we had the VCs pitching to the startups.
Isn't that a pleasure?
I also got my chance to make my first ever kosher joke on stage.
Oh, good.
It's great.
Can you tell it now?
Yeah, no, I said, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Eat the Sharks session, which is by far the least kosher session you'll ever have at OurCrowd Summit.
Attaboy, that was great. Good line.
It's you got to do Jewish jokes in Israel, right?
Absolutely.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having us again. And you're an honorary bad boy now.
All right, I'm a real bad boy.
I don't know about you, Travis, but I am full of meat right now. That was meaty stuff right there.
Yeah, and if folks are still listening, you guys got yourselves a brain full of goodness, because we had some great calls, great interviews on this particular episode. I mean, I think this is the most interviews we've had on a Bad Boys of Tech. Normally we just have one, but with Stewart Rogers out roaming the world and interviewing amazing people every single week, we got to get them in there. And this past couple of weeks, he's been interviewing he's got some other great interviews in the queue that we're going to be chatting with in future episodes.
Much good stuff, my friend. And thanks to all of you for listening to the show. The audience continues to grow. And as a result, we hope that your fascination with technology grows as well. And of course, we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe and review the show. Can't tell you too many times how important the reviews are. Your voice really matters. So if you'll take just, 30 seconds, 60 seconds to wherever you listen to the show and write us a review, especially if it's a 5-star review. If it's not, then maybe you have something else that you need to do instead. We would really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's really impossible because you're probably listening to this while you're driving, so you're not going to stop and pull over and do a review. But when you get a chance, go to badboysoftech.com and you can look and see. There's the link to iTunes. There's a link to Spotify. There's a link to Google Podcast. Go to iTunes, click it, go leave a review there. That's what we need. It helps the rankings and the whatnot. So badboysoftech.com, go there, check it out. badboysoftech.com/012, I believe, is this episode. So you can get all the show notes there as well.
I believe that you believe correctly, Mr. Travis, right? So everybody out there in the Republic of Bad Cryptopia, we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And of course, stay bad.
The Bad Boys of Tech.